After we've showcased these POCs, the question is, hold on, this is great. How do we get into this? How can we get into doing a POC after MEF 19? So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit now. Why do we do MEF 3.0 POCs? We're well known for doing our standards, and that's been explained during the course of the workshop today. And what comes out of the standards may be PDF documents, UMLs, and so on. But there's a big gap between that and actual adoption and implementation. On the right-hand side, you see certification. And to give visibility and to help that process for service providers to get from the standards that we provide and publish through to proof that they've actually implemented and the certification. We wanted to put something in the middle there that bridges that gap on the one hand, and on the other hand is to provide a feedback mechanism into our standards. So let me elaborate on that. As you saw, we have groups of service providers and vendors taking aspects of the work that MEF has already defined, or is work in progress, or is being considered, and they go and they implement that in the POCs, and we try to show that in the documentation that is provided. And it helps not only in a very unique way to get the service providers and vendors working together in a way that's very hard for them to organize by themselves. We facilitate that here. But we also enable them within their own organizations to get their different departments working together. And the feedback that we've got from several of the companies that have participated in POCs over the last few years is this was a trigger for them to get their IT people talking to their product people, talking to their business people, talking to their operational people. Because when you've actually got a project where you're collaborating with another company, but not in the framework of a specific customer, when you have to go live, being able to trigger that and catalyze that work is very, very valuable. So that's one aspect of the MEF 3.0 POCs, is to bring the companies together, but also to bring the departments within those companies together and accelerate their adoption of MEF 3.0. And then the second aspect is the feedback into our technical work. So quite often, they will highlight in a POC gaps or issues in the standards work. And so that often spawns not only course correction on existing standard work, but also encourages those companies to actually come and suggest new work in MEF. So an example of that is PoC 105, the SD-WAN over satellite. There's now a project being proposed as a result in this members meeting for performance tiers for satellite specifically, and not just for carrier Ethernet. So the MEF 3.0 POCs are about accelerating the adoption of MEF 3.0. The MEF 3.0 POCs are part of a community, what we call the MEF community. And there are actually several aspects to the MEF community. We have the MEF members, of course, themselves. They're a core part of the MEF community. We also have the MEF LSO developer community. We were speaking earlier, or David and Laurent were talking about the LSO APIs. What we've done is we've created an environment where IT developers, whether they're MEF members or not, can get on GitHub, which is moderated by a full-time MEF community manager, and they can consume the SDKs for the different reference points, whether it's Sonata, Presto, Legato, etc. And they can interact with other companies that are trying to adopt or working to adopt the APIs. So the LSO developer community on GitHub is also a very important aspect of the community. Active collaboration with open source projects and SDOs. We work closely with other organizations, whether it's Linux Foundation with projects like ONAP, TM Forum, ONF, Broadband Forum, IEEE, ITU, and so on. And so we consider that interaction with those other SDOs and open source projects part of our extended community. And we have the Enterprise Advisory Council, where we have representatives of enterprises that are not members of MEF, but they're interacting with us on an ongoing basis, on a monthly basis, being apprised of the work that's going on in MEF, but providing their feedback from an enterprise user's point of view on the work of MEF and giving us valuable input in order to steer our projects in the right direction. And together with all those other aspects of the MEF community, we have the MEF 3.0 proofs of concept, enabling a platform collaborative development as we described. So the life cycle of a MEF 3.0 PoC is, well, I want to go out and start a PoC. What do I need to do? The first thing you need to do is to think who else is going to be in your PoC with you. You can start with one company, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You should really have three. You should have 2 service providers and a vendor, or 2 vendors and a service provider. You've got a clear idea of what aspect of MEF 3.0 you want to demonstrate and proof the concept. And so once you've got that initial group, they don't have to be committed. There's no paperwork being signed here. You contact myself and my colleague, Tom, and you say, okay, we want to do a PoC. And together we create what we call a MEF 3.0 PoC map. We have some examples on the website. When you go and look at the PoCs, you'll actually, if you go to our website, you'll see for each of the PoCs, you'll see a link to what's called the MEF 3.0 PoC map, which provides a summary of all the different aspects of the PoC essentially in one slide. So once we've got that, we understand the concept that you want to work on, we then get that approved internally within the Marketing and Education Committee, and we start together developing collaterals, whether it's the published MEF 3.0 PoC map. I've got a link to the website there, but I don't think we're going to do that right now. White paper, blogs, social media. A lot of ways you can use the marketing platform of MEF to not only get the message out, but to improve and enhance your marketing materials for other purposes and for partner relationships. So that's how to get a PoC started. Very straightforward. You can do it at any time of the year. Don't wait until there's a submission for MEF 3.0 PoCs to be showcased at MEF 20. Come and talk to me now, share ideas, because the sooner you get the PoC off the ground, the more established it will be by the time you get to showcase it. As we go along, we work on coordinating with the technical committees, explaining to them what's going on in your PoC so that they can understand how their work is relevant and provide feedback to one another. Reports at MEF member meetings, and we'll add in capabilities throughout the year, aiming to showcase at MEF 20, which will be at the end of October next year. So that, in a nutshell, is MEF 3.0 PoCs and how to get them started. We've got 15 now. We'd like to grow that as much as possible. A lot of aspects of MEF 3.0 that can be and should be demonstrated and worked on in PoCs. So I urge you to come and talk to me if you've got some ideas.